doesn't need his name up in lights. He just wants to be heard, whether it's the beat of the mic. He feels so unlike everybody else, alone, in spite of the fact that some people still think that they know.
What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, and here I am. Alright, I got a lot to talk about. I want to update you guys on what's going on, so let's get to the jump. I've been home for the past month and a half, as some of you guys might already know. Those of you who follow me on Instagram, stuff like that, know that I just recently transitioned out of the Marine Corps. You know, I'm making this video just to, define the fact that, transition is hard. Transition is definitely not easy. It's probably one of the most difficult things I've ever had to deal with. I kind of just wanted to share the experiences I've had to deal with and the things I had to overcome, because a lot of this stuff is not explained to you. They tell you it's going to be hard. They tell you it's going to be difficult, but they don't exactly explain to you, the certain circumstances you're going to come across and the unexpected obstacles that you're going to come across. And it's one thing to say it, to tell somebody that, hey, it's going to be a difficult time for you when you get out, when you transition out of the service. And it's one thing to actually experience it. So I'm making this video for the simple fact, to those who are, looking to transition or on the fence of transitioning because of the scariness of the outside world, the fear of, getting out of your comfort zone. Because as many of you guys might know, especially those of you who actually serve, being in the military is comfortable. You join, you earn the title of a soldier, of a Marine, or whatever service branch you decide to join, and you work your way up. You started from the ground, you started from the bottom, you started from like dirt, right? Dirt. When you go to boot camp, you're in the dirt. You know what I mean? And you grow gradually, and you become a leader in the end. And whether you did 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, or you retired, when you actually transition out of that service, a lifestyle that you've become so accustomed to, it's difficult. It's difficult on the physical aspect, it's difficult financially, it's difficult mentally, and I want to say mentally, it's probably the most difficult mentally. And I just want to share, my experiences that I've gone through, and maybe it will help you guys. In the end, those of you who are transitioning now or are on the fence of transitioning. So I do apologize if I start skipping any topics, or I'm all over the place in this video. This video is not scripted. This video was simply an idea as of yesterday, because I was just laying there and I'm like, I'm actually in a very comfortable place right now, and I'm only gonna grow from here. So I started looking back at the past month and a half, 2 months that I've been dealing with all these little circumstances I've been dealing with. And I was talking to my wife and stuff like that, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna make a video, because I truly want to share the stuff that I've had to endure, the stuff that I've had to overcome, and I feel like a lot of people deserve that, because I wish that I was able to go back into a video and just watch somebody else's experiences and things that they've gone through, and it might have better prepared me. I felt like I was prepared getting out, but sometimes it's one of those where you think you're prepared enough, until it hits you like a rock. And it's not going to hit you like a rock until you're back home, trying to scuffle for a job, trying to scuffle to go to school, or trying to just figure out life in general, because your life in the military was so much different. You had guidance. If you had a question, your questions were answered. When you're out in the civilian world, your answers are hard to come by. You may ask a few questions, you may ask a lot of questions, but those answers are very, very hard to come by, because now you're on your own. All right, so I just want to share my experiences. Like I said, I do apologize that the video is all over the place, but I do want to, stress out some of the topics that I have, which are not very many. I just wanted to cover over the things that you might come across, and how to overcome it. The whole transitional phase is difficult. From the jump, when you're transitioning out of the service, it's exciting. It's exciting to know that you're getting out of the service, because You know, whatever reason you had to get out, you know, you obviously had a vision, right? And you're trying to prepare for this vision. And when you're transitioning out of the service does you a favor by giving you a 1 week mandated course, right? It's the transitional readiness program. And they go over so much stuff. They go over, you know, school, education. They go over employment. They go over all these little aspects that's going to get you successful in life when you do transition. And you know, it's more of like, I'm telling you to what you're supposed to do, but it's up to you to apply. All right. So whether you're looking to go straight to school when you transition out of the service, or whether you're trying to, you know, jump on a job, which was my idea, right? That was my plan. My plan was to, you know, get employed like right away. There was no, I'm gonna take a week off, 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off, whatever it was. That wasn't for me, right? So I was planning to transition and jump straight into a job. So my initial thing was, I'm gonna start applying now. I was like 2 months out. I started applying for jobs. I started getting callbacks. I started doing phone interviews. I ended up getting callbacks from some employers that wanted to do a face-to-face interview. So, you know, me being in California and then my home being in Washington, that's where I was applying for jobs. You know, I had to take some vacation time so I can, you know, whether it was 1 week or 2 weeks, to go back home to do these face-to-face interviews. And that's exactly what I did. You know, I was excited. I was ready to jump on that train. So, you know, I put in my time. It got approved. I went back home and, you know, I did those interviews. Then once I finished those interviews, I came back to California to pretty much finish off the last processes of my transition. So until one day, I want to say it was about 2 weeks before I was getting out, I ended up receiving an email from one of the employers that were interviewing me. And keep this in mind, I didn't get to mention that the interview with that employer, I'm not going to mention their name, but the interview with that employer made it almost certain I was going to get that job. So what did I do? I settled, right? I settled on that job thinking that I was going to get it. That was the biggest mistake that I could have ever made. You know, if I can go back, I wish I could have done it differently. It is what it is, you know, so I moved on. But like I said, that was probably the biggest mistake, was settling and thinking that I was guaranteed that job. Because, you know, during the interview, one of the guys that interviewed me basically expressed that there was no reason why I wasn't going to get that job. You know what I mean? So in my head, I'm like, okay, I got this. I secured this job. You know, now I'm just waiting for the offer so I can accept it and stuff like that. So, you know, I settled on that. So what did I do? I stopped applying for jobs. I came back over to California with 2 weeks left, and thinking that, you know, once I get back home, I'm set. You know, I got a job lined up. I'm ready to go, you know. That wasn't the case. I received that email, and it I don't know, it was like a punch to the face or a punch to the gut, and you know, it hurt. You know, I was really hesitant on telling my wife because I don't want to stress her out. You know what I mean? I'm stressed out. I don't want to stress somebody else out. But, you know, at the end of the day, you have to deal with those little obstacles that you come across, and it's very unexpected. But yeah, the biggest mistake I made there was, you know, thinking I was gonna land that job. And heck, so what did I do from there? I started to apply for more jobs. I started like applying everywhere. I was going on Indeed, Glassdoor, you know, I was making phone calls here and there. And, you know, I was starting to get worried, and I felt like I was starting to now get desperate. And that's one thing you don't want to do when you transition, is you don't want to get desperate. You don't want to start applying for jobs based off of you know, your time and what you have left. Because now you're feeling rushed. You know, now you have like a week left to get out, but you haven't secured anything yet. So you don't want to run into that wall, because it's a bad day when you run into that wall. Because now, instead of looking for a job that you probably think that you qualify for based off your experiences, the time that you've had, and all the things that you've learned, all the skill sets that you learned, now you're starting to get desperate and applying for jobs that you do not want. And that's probably the most shittiest feeling in the world, is knowing that you might have to settle on a job that you just completely don't want, or they only offer a position for a really crappy shift, like a graveyard shift or a swing shift, and it really sucks. And you know, you just don't want to come across that. And so that's one thing I started getting desperate, very desperate, and thank God, like, everything turned out the way it did, because like I said in the beginning of this video, you know, I'm in a very comfortable place right now because, you know, I managed to find what I wanted, and it took some time, but you know, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, right? So, you know, even if it's a little glimpse of hope, you know, I still have it, and that's just me, you know. Other people might not feel that way, you know. Other people might just feel it's luck, or, you know, the luck of the draw, whatever the case is. But I feel like, you know, when one thing doesn't work out, another thing is gonna come. You know, it's just all about how you react to that circumstance. So I got back home. I'm finally, you know, settling into my house, and you know, I still haven't secured a job yet. And you know, now that I'm home, you know, it's hit me even more because, like, I'm here. You know, I'm still collecting a little bit of money from the military because, you know, I still had like 20 days, 30 days of vacation time that I was using, you know. So I was still receiving a paycheck from the Marine Corps, but now I had this little small window that I had to work off of to, you know, secure a job as soon as possible. So, you know, now I'm starting to get worried. Now I'm starting to get a little bit more desperate, and I was applying for jobs, continued applying for jobs. I was doing interviews left and right, and you know, I was always constantly checking my emails because I was just hoping, you know, they would reply back with an interview, or I'll get a phone call for an interview. So my phone was like attached to my hip, you know, every single day, and it sucked. You know, it started getting really stressful. It's stressing me out. It's stressing my wife out. You know, my wife is going to school, so that's the last thing I want to do is stress her out. You know, so you know, everything was starting to come down to the wire, and you know, it's just a very bad place when you're in that position. You know, I started, you know, finally I would receive a phone call from an employer. I would do their interview. I'd go to the interview. You know, I'd knock it out the park, and you know, I wouldn't get a call back. You know, I could say I probably applied for 20 plus jobs, and I mean, maybe like 50% of them, if not 40% of them, you know, called me back and was giving me the opportunity to do an interview, or you know, just reach back to me in general. And you know, it was starting to get really stressful. You know, the stress level was going up. The worriness was getting much more overwhelming, and yeah, but you know, I just kept at it. You know, I realized from there that, you know, I gotta keep grinding. I gotta keep pushing. I gotta keep reaching out. I gotta keep, you know, doing what I gotta do to, you know, set me up for those opportunities. You know what I mean? Every interview that I slammed, every phone call that I got and was like, hey, I want to see you for this interview, was just another opportunity for me to go prove myself. And you know, that's the way I took it. You know, I made sure that I was on point on everything. I made sure that my resume was good before I even, you know, submitted it. And you know, it just gets more overwhelming when you actually do an interview, and you know, you ask them, hey, how long is this employment process going to take? And they tell you 1 week, 2 weeks. So when they tell you that, right, and you're within that 1 week window, you know, you're, like I said, I had my phone attached to my hip. I was always checking my emails every single day. And once it came to that window of them telling you, you know, when they should be calling you back, and you don't get a call back, or you don't get an email back, man, that feeling, right? That feeling is just, it's crazy. You know, and I'm not, you know, I've done a lot of things in my life. I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of skill sets that I've learned in the Marine Corps, but that's one thing I was not used to. You know, 8 years in the service, I was used to, you know, everything already being, you know, standardized for me. So now that I'm dealing with the unknown and dealing with reality, and reality is telling me, hey man, this is real. Like, now I'm really going through it, right? So constantly checking my emails, trying to figure everything out, you know, continuing to apply, continuing to look at websites, and you know, the hiring websites, trying to see if there's any new job openings. And I was looking for one main job, right? I was looking for one main position, right? So I was trying to find something that was gonna fit the experiences that I have, you know, because I'm trying to translate the experience that I had in the Marine Corps over to the civilian sector, right? So I wasn't trying to completely go outside the box. But now, because, you know, I was running out of jobs to apply for, the jobs that I've wanted, the position that I wanted, I was starting to get desperate, even more desperate than I was before. So now I'm starting to apply for jobs that don't even relate to the experiences that I have, right? So now I'm having to take little bulletins of skills that I have and try to translate it over to a job that I have no experience in, but I'm willing to learn it. Because if you put me anywhere, like, I know for a fact that I'm gonna learn that job no matter what. You know, you can put me anywhere. You can put me in a job I've never done before. But you give me a few days, you train me for a few days, I will be on top of it. It's just the way I am, and I'm a quick learner. And there's a lot of you guys out there that are quick learners, especially those I've come across in the Marine Corps. Like, you guys learn quick, man, and it's a reason why a lot of you guys are successful, is because you guys can take a task, you know, that you've never done before and manage to finish it. You know what I mean? And that's what's special about so many service members. So that's, you know, and take that with you. When you go out into the civilian sector, take that with you. Take that fast learning ability and run with it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that you need to bullshit your way through life, but I'm saying that is a skill set. There's not a lot of people out there that can take a responsibility or take a job and run with it the way some of us in the service do. A lot of us in the service do. So, you know, use that ability to your advantage and apply that. Don't think that you have to settle for one thing because you're so comfortable with it, right? That's what I did. You know, I wanted a certain position because I'm comfortable with it. I've been doing it for the past 8 years. Why not pursue a job that was similar to what I was doing for the past 8 years, right? So that was my mindset. So now that, you know, I've already gone through the huge list of jobs that I want, now I have a somewhat bigger list of jobs that I don't want, which falls back into the whole being desperate and stuff like that. But like I said, I knew I had the ability to learn stuff quickly, so why not? So I took a shot at those, did a few interviews for those, and finally, an employer called me back, right? An employer for a position that I actually wanted called me back. And you know, after doing the interview, and man, the feeling of stress just completely just fell off my back, right? And it's funny because it actually, you know, I got hired literally the last week before my time of my vacation time, my paid time off was going to be done, right? So after this week, no more paychecks from the government, right? So I felt like, yes, it was a little bit of luck, if not a lot of luck, but it all falls back to, you know, everything happening for a reason in my mindset, and that, you know, now that things weren't starting to fall into place, you know, I had to get more aggressive, and being more aggressive is what led me to, you know, finally finding something. And you know, I hope a lot of you guys out there who are looking to transition don't have to go through the same thing I was going through, but it will happen. You know, you just, no matter how prepared you are, no matter how much you think you are prepared to get out, sometimes things just don't work the way you want it to, and you have to be, you have to accept the fact that, you know, you have to face that. And if you haven't already accepted that, life is going to hit you harder than you can imagine. So that's probably the biggest point I can take from this, is to not settle. You know, do not settle, right? Do not settle on a job because you think you're going to get the job, unless you've received an offer and you've accepted it and you already have a mutual agreement with that employer. Do not settle. Do not settle. I'm telling you right now, no matter what an interviewer tells you, to not believe him. Do not, because when you go and do an interview, they probably already have somebody selected. You know, sometimes it's not even on you. It's probably the fact that they're just, you know, trying to see if they can find different talent because 90% of the time they're gonna hire somebody that's already on the floor that's looking to get promoted. So keep that in mind. Sometimes it's not you, so don't look at it as it's just you, because if you start doing that, you're gonna make another mistake that I made, which was, what am I doing wrong? What am I putting in my resume that's not appealing to the employer? So I started making changes in my resume and trying to make it sound better, trying to make it more convincing, stuff like that. But sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes it's not what's on your resume. Sometimes it's not because of something you did during your interview, or you think that you did something. Sometimes it's on the employer. They're just trying to find the best qualified candidate, right? So if they've already found somebody, they already have their eyes set on somebody, and they're already going to hire somebody, they're still going to conduct interviews just to see if there's different talent out there they can bring to that company, because as a hiring manager, you want to bring in the best quality people as possible. So that's just their job, and there's nothing personal against that. So that pretty much sums it up. Like I said, it's an unscripted video, so I just wanted to go over a few things that I had to deal with, and yeah, leave it at that. Hopefully some of this information you guys can use to help you, better your transition. But like I said, it doesn't matter how prepared you are. You're gonna run into a few things here and there. You just, there's no way to prepare for it. It's just a matter of how you handle it. All right. So definitely take the key thing is that don't settle. Do not settle. All right. Until you are 100% sure that you have something locked on. If you're going to school, if you're trying to get employed right away, whatever it is. All right, make sure you are 100% locked on before you think that you're good. All right, so that's just one key takeaway. There's tons of other things that you guys are going to be dealing with as well, but that's those things are something that you can kind of figure out on your own, as far as the mental aspect of it, like having to deal with civilians. Cause dealing with military guys, we have a better understanding of each other and how we process things. But being in the civilian world, you can't act the way you act in the military in the civilian world, because they'll just look at you crazy. You know what I mean? Unless they serve themselves and they're vets as well, they're not going to understand you, right? Because we're built, being in the military, you're built around a different language. You're built around using acronyms as words. That stuff becomes natural because you constantly use it on a daily basis when you're in the service. So you start using that military jargon and military slang out in the civilian world, those guys aren't going to understand. So those are small things that you're going to be dealing with as well. And especially if you're dealing with a customer service oriented environment, you definitely have to be careful as well, because you might catch an attitude here and there, and it might come off strong. So there's little things that you need to work on. There's little things that you kind of have to embrace and figure out for yourself. And there's not really anything that anybody can tell you that's going to change it. All right, it's about you. It's about you trying to figure things out. You trying to learning to be patient again. And just learning to be not as aggressive as you were in the military. So there's nothing wrong with that. You're gonna ease into it. You're gonna figure it out. But on the other broader aspect of trying to find your life, trying to find your purpose again, it's gonna be hard. But I know you guys are gonna figure it out, and I hope that any amount of information that I've given in this video is going to help. All right. So I just want to say that 2019 is coming up, and I do have big plans for you guys. On my Instagram, on my YouTube, I definitely have a lot of things coming up. So I'll definitely keep you guys updated. I'll continue to post more as we go into the new year, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to this new chapter of my life, and I'm hoping that you guys can follow me along the way. And for those of you who are already following me now, and have been following me, in the past 2-3 years, I do appreciate it. Like I said, none of it goes unnoticed. I love you guys. I appreciate your support, and I will see you guys again soon. All right, peace.
She is my rock, bust at the hold down the spot, beast with the pop, shout to be wet, dope in the pot, beat down the block, the best thing I got. She is my